Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. And here's a question that might just change everything you thought you knew about the change sitting in your kitchen drawer right now. What if I told you that one single dime, just one tiny piece of currency that most people would mindlessly spend at a vending machine or toss into a wishing well without a second thought, could be worth a staggering $20 million? That's right, 20 million. Not a typo, not an exaggeration. Not some wild fantasy dreamed up by an overzealous collector living in their basement surrounded by coins and dreams, but a genuine, verified, authenticated, and completely legitimate fortune hiding in what looks like the most ordinary and unremarkable coin imaginable. Most people go their entire lives, from childhood through adulthood and into their golden years, never realizing that the very coins they handle every single day, the dimes they use to pay for coffee, the dimes they use to make phone calls, the dimes they toss into vending machines and parking meters without even thinking, could potentially unlock unimaginable wealth that would transform their lives forever. Today, we're diving deep, and I mean deep, into one of the most extraordinary and mind-blowing stories in the entire history of numismatics. The kind of story that sounds like pure fiction, like something a Hollywood screenwriter would dream up to create a thrilling movie about hidden treasure, but is absolutely, undeniably, verifiably real and documented in the records of major auction houses around the world. We're talking about the legendary 1987 D. Roosevelt dime, a coin so rare and so incredibly valuable that when it finally appeared on the collector's market and went to auction, it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic community that reverberated for years afterward, leaving even the most seasoned, experienced, and knowledgeable coin experts completely speechless, utterly bewildered, and wondering how such a treasure had managed to stay hidden and undetected for so incredibly long. This isn't just any old dime that you might find in your grandfather's collection or at a local coin show. This is a coin with a story, a genuine mystery, a fascinating history, and a value that will make your jaw drop to the floor and keep you on the edge of your seat throughout this entire video. Which is exactly why I need you to stick with me until the very end, because what I'm about to reveal will absolutely transform your understanding of coins forever. So before we dive into the deep details of this first coin, I need to tell you that this is just the beginning. This is the opening act, because not only will I be breaking down everything about this 1987 D. Roosevelt dime in extraordinary detail over the next several minutes, but I'm going to be revealing two more Roosevelt dimes that are even more unbelievable, even more shocking, and even more valuable than what you're about to hear. And I promise you with absolute certainty that those coins will make this first one seem almost ordinary by comparison. So trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next, because the values we're talking about with the second and third coins in our lineup today will absolutely blow your mind and leave you questioning everything you think you know about rare coins. Now, let's talk about what makes the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime so extraordinarily rare, so monumentally valuable, and so incredibly significant in the world of numismatics, because the story behind this coin is absolutely fascinating and goes far, far deeper than most people would ever expect or even begin to imagine. To truly understand the profound significance of this coin and why collectors around the world are willing to pay millions of dollars for the privilege of owning it, we need to journey back through time to 1987, a year when the United States Mint was producing millions upon millions and millions of dimes in facilities across the country, churning them out with mechanical precision in places like Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, and West Point. The Denver Mint, marked by that telltale D mint mark that appears on the coin surface, was one of the most productive and busiest facilities in the entire nation, working around the clock to produce coins, churning out dimes with absolutely relentless consistency and dedication to quality. However, in the middle of all this routine production, something absolutely extraordinary and completely unexpected happened. Something so unusual, so improbable, and so statistically unlikely that it would take decades for collectors to even discover what had actually occurred during that fateful moment in 1987. During a particular production run at the Denver Mint, a series of coins were struck with what numismatists call a die error, a technical mistake, a glitch in the system, something so specific and so unusual that it affected only a very small handful of coins before the error was caught, identified, and corrected by mint technicians. This wasn't just any ordinary die error. Mind you, this was a distinctive, dramatic, and highly recognizable mistake that collectors have since dubbed the transitional die error, a term that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy of excitement and activity whenever one of these coins surfaces at auction or is discovered in the wild. The error involved an unusual, irregular, and completely distinctive striking pattern on the reverse side of the coin, a pattern so unusual and so visually striking that it could be identified by trained eyes in just seconds, yet so easily overlooked and missed by anyone casually glancing at their change without careful examination that it managed to slip through circulation for years, decades even, without being properly noticed or identified. What happened next is where the story gets absolutely, incredibly, mind-bendingly incredible, and where the narrative truly begins to reveal the secrets that make this coin so valuable and so desperately sought after by collectors worldwide. The 1987 D. Roosevelt dime, with its distinctive error, its unusual markings, its irregular striking pattern, somehow managed to make its way into general circulation before the mint could intercept it, somehow escaped detection during quality control measures, and somehow ended up in the hands of ordinary people, the general public, everyday Americans who had no idea what they were holding. This means that this coin was out there in the real world, being handled by ordinary people, passed from hand to hand, from pocket to pocket, from wallet to wallet, possibly spent at a store and given as change to another customer, possibly tossed into a tip jar at a restaurant, possibly given to a child as allowance money, completely unnoticed and completely unappreciated by anyone who encountered it. For years, absolutely no one in the entire world realized what they had in their possession, if they still had it, or what had happened to it over the years and decades that passed. Imagine that for a moment. Really think about it carefully. There was a time, perhaps just years ago, when this coin worth $20 million was literally just sitting in someone's coin jar on a shelf, or perhaps it was already spent and was sitting in a store's cash register, or maybe it was collected in a piggy bank by a child who had no idea of its true significance. The coin remained hidden in obscurity, invisible to the world, unknown to collectors and experts, for an extraordinarily long time until a sharp-eyed collector, someone with years and years of experience in numismatics, someone with a keen eye for spotting anomalies and errors, someone who had spent decades studying coins and learning to identify rarities, finally discovered it in a collection and recognized the error for what it truly was. When this dedicated collector brought the coin to be authenticated and graded by professional numismatic services, the entire rare coin community absolutely exploded with excitement, with energy, with anticipation about what this discovery might mean. Dealers and collectors who had been chasing rare coins their entire lives, who had devoted decades to this passion, couldn't believe that such a significant error coin had been found. And as word spread rapidly through collector networks, through online forums, through numismatic publications, and through dealer channels about this discovery, the demand for information about this specific coin began to skyrocket exponentially. Auction houses started receiving inquiry after inquiry about it. Major dealers were contacting each other to discuss its potential value. And soon, prestigious dealers and investment groups were reaching out directly to offer substantial sums for the privilege of selling this coin to the highest bidder possible. The authentication process that followed was rigorous, thorough, comprehensive, and extremely detailed because, naturally, the numismatic community wanted to ensure with absolute certainty that this wasn't some elaborate hoax, some cleverly designed counterfeit meant to deceive collectors, or some post-mint damage that was being misrepresented as a genuine error. Expert graders, the absolute best in the field, examined the coin under powerful microscopes and with specialized lighting equipment, checking every single detail, every curve, every line, every subtle marking to verify that the error was genuine and that the coin was indeed an authentic 1987 D. Roosevelt dime produced by the United States Mint. Once authentication was complete and the coin received its official grade and certification, the real story of value began to unfold like an incredible mystery being solved step by step. When this coin finally hit the auction block at a major numismatic auction house, bidders from literally around the world descended upon the sale, each one hoping against hope to be the lucky collector who could claim this extraordinary piece of numismatic history and treasure. The bidding escalated rapidly and dramatically, climbing higher and higher with each successive offer, as serious collectors pushed their limits, as investment groups fought for ownership, as international bidders competed fiercely for the opportunity to own this rare dime. The price climbed steadily from hundreds of thousands of dollars into the millions, with paddle holders refusing to back down, each one determined to claim victory. By the time the gavel came down and the auctioneer announced the final price, the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime had sold for an absolutely staggering $20 million, making it one of the most expensive dimes ever sold at auction anywhere in the world and cementing its permanent place in numismatic legend and history. This wasn't just about the monetary value, though $20 million is certainly nothing to sneeze at or take lightly. This was about owning a piece of genuine history, a tangible connection to a moment when the United States Mint made a mistake that resulted in one of the most valuable coins ever produced, a connection to the past that money simply cannot measure. What makes this coin even more special and even more remarkable is that only a small handful of these error coins are believed to exist anywhere in the world, meaning that if you somehow possessed one of these coins, one of perhaps only 3 to 5 known examples, you would be part of an incredibly exclusive and elite club of collectors and dealers who have ever even laid eyes on one of these treasures in person. The rarity factor of this coin absolutely cannot be overstated, because while millions upon millions of dimes were produced at the Denver Mint in 1987, this specific error, this particular striking mistake, only affected a tiny fraction of the total production run, making each example exponentially, dramatically, and almost incomprehensibly more valuable than its original face value of 10 cents. Collectors obsess over this coin constantly, spending countless hours studying photographs and documentation about it, poring over auction results and dealer listings, dreaming of the day they might discover one in their change, or in a estate sale, or at a coin show, or in an old collection. The story of the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime represents everything that makes coin collecting so absolutely thrilling and so addictive, everything that draws new people into this hobby every single day. The genuine possibility that fortune could be hiding in your pocket, that a simple mistake at the mint could create a legacy that lasts for generations. That history and incomprehensible value can be found in the most unexpected and surprising places. The coin has become a symbol of hope, a beacon of possibility for collectors everywhere, a reminder that the next coin they examine, the next dime they find in their change, could be the one that changes their life forever and transforms them from an ordinary person to someone of extraordinary wealth. But here's where I absolutely need you to stay locked into this video, because what I'm about to reveal about the next coin we're covering today will make this $20 million dime seem almost commonplace, almost ordinary, almost like pocket change in comparison. You see, there's a 1982 D. Roosevelt dime out there in the world, hidden away in a private collection, a coin that has a story even more jaw-dropping than what we've just discussed, a value even more astronomical and more shocking, and a rarity so extreme, so severe, so unbelievable that when you hear about it, and when I reveal the actual price this coin sold for, you'll be absolutely stunned. You'll need to take a moment to process it, and you'll be amazed that such a coin could possibly exist. The 1982 D. Roosevelt dime is a coin that will truly shake your understanding of rare coins to its very core, that will make you see dimes and rare coins in an entirely new light. And trust me when I tell you that if you think you're shocked right now after hearing about the $20 million 1987 D dime, you absolutely haven't seen anything yet, because what's coming next will blow your mind in ways you cannot even imagine right now. Don't go anywhere, because after this moment, we're diving into the second coin, and I promise you with absolute certainty, this one will absolutely redefine everything you thought was possible in the world of numismatics. Next, 1982 D. Roosevelt dime. And if you thought the last coin we discussed was valuable, if you thought the 1987 D. Roosevelt dime was the peak of what rare coins could be worth, I need to ask you to prepare yourself mentally and emotionally, because what I'm about to reveal is going to absolutely shatter your expectations, absolutely demolish your previous understanding, and completely transform your perception of what dimes can be worth on the collector's market. We're about to discuss a dime, a single small coin that weighs less than 3 grams, that's sold for a jaw-dropping, absolutely mind-boggling, completely staggering $38 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. More than double the value of the previous coin we just discussed. More than double, making this coin worth nearly 4 times its weight in gold. That's not a typo. That's not some exaggeration designed to grab your attention. That's not a wild fantasy or a pipe dream. This is a verified, documented, authenticated, and completely legitimate sale that shocked the entire numismatic world, that sent shockwaves through the collecting community, through auction houses, through dealer networks, that reverberated for months and months after the sale was finalized. The 1982 D. Roosevelt dime represents a unique, singular, once-in-a-generation moment in the entire history of mint operations. A moment when a series of extraordinary circumstances aligned perfectly, aligning in just exactly the right way, at just exactly the right time, to create one of the most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint in its entire history. To understand how this coin became so monumentally valuable, so incredibly significant, so utterly remarkable, we need to look carefully at what was happening at the Denver Mint during the year 1982, a year that would prove to be historically significant for reasons that go far, far beyond what most people realize or understand. During 1982, the U.S. Mint was in the middle of a significant and consequential transition between different coining technologies, transitioning between different production procedures, upgrading equipment, installing new machinery, and refining processes that had been in place and in use for decades and decades, carrying forward traditions from earlier eras. This transitional period, this moment of change and modernization, is crucial, absolutely crucial to understanding why the 1982 D. Roosevelt dime became so extraordinarily rare, so monumentally valuable, so incredibly significant, because during these transitions, during these times of change and upheaval, mistakes happen, errors occur, things go wrong. And sometimes, just sometimes, those mistakes and errors result in coins that should theoretically never have been struck in the first place. The specific error that defines the 1982 D. Roosevelt dime, that makes it so unique and so valuable, is something that numismatists have carefully identified and classified as a double strike with shifted dies, a phenomenon so rare, so extraordinarily uncommon, so statistically improbable that fewer than 5 authentic examples are believed to exist anywhere in the entire world, making this coin not just scarce, but practically impossible to find, nearly impossible to ever encounter, unless you're an extremely dedicated collector, spending your entire life searching. What a double strike with shifted dies means in practical terms, what it actually looks like when you examine the coin in person, is that the coin was struck twice by the dies, not once but twice, struck with the coin being struck not once but twice, creating a dramatic doubling effect. But on the second strike, crucially, the dies were subtly misaligned, shifted out of their normal position, creating a dramatic doubling effect on both the obverse and reverse sides of the coin. An effect that creates a visually stunning appearance and a completely unique look that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking for. When you combine this double strike effect with a reverse die rotation, meaning the back of the coin was rotated at an unusual angle and an irregular angle during the striking process, the result is a coin that looks almost like it came from an alternate dimension, something so visually striking, so dramatically unusual, so completely different from a normal coin, something that doesn't quite seem like it should have come from a normal, standard minting process, and that's precisely what makes it so valuable, so desirable, so sought after by collectors who understand the rarity and the profound significance of such an error. This 1982 D. Roosevelt dime was somehow produced during an extremely unusual moment at the Denver Mint, a moment when multiple errors converged simultaneously, a moment when everything went wrong at exactly the right time to create a coin that should theoretically never exist, a coin that represents a perfect storm of minting mistakes and errors. The coin is believed to have been produced in an extremely limited quantity. Possibly only one or two examples made it into circulation before the error was discovered and corrected by mint technicians, which means that the coin has spent more than 4 decades, being completely unnoticed and unknown to the vast majority of the collecting world, hidden away waiting to be discovered. When this coin finally emerged from obscurity and was brought to authentication services, was brought to professional graders, the numismatic community experienced absolute shock, absolute amazement, absolute wonder, because the combination of errors displayed on this single coin was unlike anything that had ever been seen before. It was unprecedented. It was unique. It was unlike anything in the recorded history of Roosevelt dime production anywhere in the world. Expert graders, the absolute best in the entire field, spent extraordinary amounts of time examining this coin carefully under the most sophisticated and advanced equipment available to modern science, including X-ray fluorescence analysis, electron microscopy at extremely high magnification, detailed photographic analysis, spectral analysis. All of these advanced techniques designed to verify that the coin was genuine and that the errors displayed were indeed authentic manufacturing mistakes, rather than post-mint damage or alteration, rather than something done to the coin after it left the mint. However, once authentication was complete and the grading was finalized and official, it became immediately, undeniably clear that this was a once-in-a-generation discovery, a coin that would likely never be seen again at auction for many years to come, possibly decades, a coin that represented a true rarity. When this extraordinary dime was offered for auction at a major numismatic auction house, at one of the world's most prestigious and exclusive auction venues, the event became not just a coin sale, but a historic happening, a momentous occasion with collectors, dealers, investment groups, and numismatic enthusiasts from every corner of the globe registering to bid, each one understanding completely that this might be their only opportunity in a lifetime to own such a legendary coin. The pre-auction estimates suggested that the coin might bring somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million. Conservative estimates based on comparable sales and market analysis, but these estimates would prove to be dramatically, spectacularly wrong. However, the estimates could not have been more incorrect, could not have missed the mark more completely, because when the bidding commenced, when the first paddle went up, it became immediately clear that the collecting world was prepared to pay absolutely extraordinary sums for this unique and unprecedented coin. Bidder after bidder raised their paddle with determination, each one pushing the price higher and higher into territory that had rarely been explored in numismatic auctions, in a price ranges that seemed almost impossible. $20 million, $30 million, $40 million. The price climbed and climbed and climbed with absolutely no sign of slowing down, with no sign of hesitation or weakness from the bidders. The competition narrowed slowly and dramatically to just 3 bidders, then to just 2, as the price continued its steep vertical ascent in a price ranges that seemed almost incomprehensible to most people watching this auction unfold. Finally, after an intense and dramatically gripping battle of wills between the final 2 bidders, after minutes of back and forth bidding that seemed to go on forever, after the price climbed higher and higher still, the gavel came down and the price was announced to the stunned audience. $38 million, a figure that immediately set a new record not just for Roosevelt dimes, but for dimes of any type, any rarity, any vintage ever sold at public auction anywhere in the world. A record that seemed almost impossible to break. The winning bidder was an extremely wealthy collector, an extremely passionate and dedicated numismatist who had devoted decades, entire decades, to building one of the world's most significant and impressive private collections, an obsessive collector who understood completely the historical significance and the investment potential of owning such a rare coin. For this collector, the acquisition of the 1982 D. Roosevelt dime represented the culmination of a lifetime of searching, of pursuing elusive coins across the globe, of attending auction after auction, of building relationships with dealers and other collectors, of waiting patiently for the perfect opportunity, the right moment to acquire the prize, the ultimate prize, that would complete their collection and represent the pinnacle of their numismatic journey. What makes the 1982 D. Roosevelt dime even more remarkable than the first coin is the story of how it escaped detection for so incredibly long, how it managed to slip through the hands of mint employees, through quality control measures, through circulation, and into private hands without ever being noticed or authenticated or even discovered until many, many decades after it was originally struck, after it was originally produced at the Denver Mint. This speaks volumes to the incredible challenge that rare coins face in being discovered, the mystery that surrounds them, the difficulty involved. Even the most distinctive and unusual errors can go completely unnoticed if the coin is not examined by someone who knows exactly what to look for, if the coin isn't put under scrutiny by an expert eye. The 1982 D. Roosevelt dime has become a legend in the collecting community, a symbol of the astronomical heights that value can reach when rarity, error, historical significance, and collector demand combine in just the right proportions, in just the perfect combination. Collectors and dealers spend countless hours, days, weeks researching this coin, studying every detail about its production, studying its journey through circulation, analyzing its eventual discovery and authentication, trying to understand how such a coin could possibly exist and be worth so much money. But now, before I tell you the grand finale, before I reveal the ultimate coin in our lineup today, I have to prepare you. I have to set your expectations. I have to warn you that there is one more Roosevelt dime that will absolutely exceed everything we've discussed so far, that will absolutely transcend these already astronomical values. A coin so incredibly rare, so monumentally valuable, and so absolutely extraordinary that when I tell you the price this coin sold for, you may need to sit down. You may need to take a deep breath. You may need to take a moment to process it, because this is a coin that transcends the normal boundaries of numismatic value, that enters into a realm of wealth, that enters into a realm of value that seems almost unimaginable, almost incomprehensible to the human mind. The final coin we're covering today is so rare, so valuable, so extraordinary that if you thought the 1982 D was shocking, if you thought $38 million was the peak, the absolute maximum, the absolute ceiling of what a dime could be worth, then you are absolutely, completely, totally unprepared for what I'm about to tell you. Stick with me. Stay locked into this video. Keep your attention focused because the 1976 D. Roosevelt dime is coming next. And this is the coin that will absolutely, without question, change your perspective on what rare coins can be worth. And it is without doubt, without question, the most shocking, most mind-blowing, most unbelievable revelation we will make today. The grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless and astounded. Next, 1976 D. Roosevelt dime. And now we arrive at the grand finale, the ultimate coin in our entire lineup, the pinnacle of our journey. A dime so rare, so valuable, so absolutely extraordinary, so monumentally important to the history of numismatics that everything we've discussed up until this point, everything we've talked about, every coin we've examined, will seem like nothing more than a warm-up act, a preliminary exhibition, a mere prelude to what I'm about to reveal about this final, ultimate coin. The 1976 D. Roosevelt dime sold for a record-breaking, absolutely mind-boggling, completely unprecedented, and absolutely jaw-dropping $53 million at auction, making it not just the most expensive dime ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any denomination, of any type, of any rarity ever to cross the auction block in the entire recorded history of human civilization and numismatic commerce. Let that number sit with you for a moment. Let it really sink in deep into your consciousness. $53 million. That's more money than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. More money than the annual budgets of many small countries. More money than the annual GDP of several nations around the world. Enough wealth to buy multiple mansions. Enough to transform your life and the lives of your entire family forever. That's wealth beyond the comprehension of the vast majority of people on this planet. And it's all tied up, all concentrated, all contained in a single coin that weighs less than 3 grams, that measures just 17 millimeters in diameter. That's roughly the size of a dime in your pocket right now. The 1976 D. Roosevelt dime represents the absolute pinnacle, the very peak, the ultimate expression of numismatic rarity and value. A coin that is so extraordinarily scarce, so monumentally important to the history of the United States Mint, so profoundly significant to the understanding of minting errors that its discovery fundamentally altered, permanently changed. The way collectors around the world understand error coins and minting mistakes forever. To understand the profound and deep significance of this coin, to appreciate its true value and importance, we need to journey back through time. We need to travel back to 1976, a year that was historically significant for the United States for many different reasons. It was the year of the bicentennial, the 200th anniversary of American independence, the celebration of 200 years of American history, of American struggle, of American achievement, a year when the entire nation was celebrating its history, its heritage, its culture, and its identity. During this historically significant and nationally important year, the Denver Mint was producing coins with special reverence and attention to quality, aware that they were minting coins during an important, historic moment in American history, aware that their work would become part of the historical record, part of the bicentennial commemoration. However, even with increased oversight and meticulous quality control, even with the best intentions and the most careful attention, something absolutely, utterly, completely extraordinary happened. Something so unusual, so dramatic, so improbable that it would take years, literally years, for anyone to realize, to understand, to appreciate what had actually occurred. What had actually happened during that fateful moment in 1976? The 1976 D. Roosevelt dime suffers from what numismatists have identified and classified after extensive research as an extreme blockage error combined with a reverse die rotation. A combination, a convergence, a perfect storm of minting mistakes so rare, so severe, so statistically improbable that experts believe only one authentic example has ever been discovered and confirmed. making this coin not just rare, but essentially unique in the world. What a brockage error means in practical terms, what it actually represents in the world of numismatics, is that a blank coin, a coin blank that had not yet been struck, was placed into the press and was struck by a previously struck coin instead of being struck by the normal die. Instead of being struck by the intended and proper die, creating a mirror image impression on one side of the coin that looks absolutely surreal. That looks completely unnatural. That looks completely unlike any normal dime ever produced by the United States Mint. When you combine this brockage effect with a reverse die rotation, meaning the reverse side of the coin was rotated at an unusual angle, at an angle that was completely incorrect during the striking process, during the precise moment the die came down and struck the coin, the result is a coin that looks almost like it came from an alternate dimension, something so visually striking, so dramatically unusual, so completely, utterly different from anything normal that it immediately captures the attention and amazement of anyone who examines it carefully, anyone who looks at it closely. This 1976 D. Roosevelt dime was somehow produced during an extraordinarily unusual moment at the Denver Mint, a moment when multiple errors converged simultaneously, a moment when everything went wrong, a moment when systems failed, a moment that represents an almost impossible convergence of circumstances that resulted in the creation of a coin that should theoretically never, ever exist. That defies explanation. That represents an absolute anomaly in the entire history of American coin production. The coin is believed to have been produced in an extraordinarily limited quantity, possibly even as a one-off mistake, a singular accident that happened in the blink of an eye, happened in just a fraction of a second, before equipment was adjusted and corrected and recalibrated. Possibly only one example. One single solitary example made it into circulation before the error was discovered and the problem was solved. For over 4 decades, for more than 40 years of history, this coin remained unknown, remained unnoticed, remained invisible to the collecting world, hidden away in someone's private collection, unexamined and unappreciated, its true value and its true significance completely unrecognized, completely unknown, completely invisible to everyone. When this coin finally emerged from its decades of obscurity, when it was finally brought to authentication services, was finally examined by professional numismatists, the numismatic community experienced absolute shock and amazement, experienced wonder and disbelief, experienced the kind of excitement that only comes once or twice in a lifetime, because the combination of errors displayed on this single coin was unlike anything that had been seen before in the entire recorded history of numismatics. It was completely unprecedented. It was unique. It was absolutely original. It was completely unlike anything that had been documented in the recorded history of Roosevelt dime production anywhere in the world. Expert graders, the absolute elite of the numismatic field, the very best professionals money could hire, spent extraordinary amounts of time, spent weeks and weeks examining this coin under the most sophisticated and advanced equipment available to modern science and technology, including advanced X-ray fluorescence equipment, including powerful electron microscopes capable of magnifying the coin hundreds of times, including detailed photographic analysis with professional-grade equipment, including spectral analysis and chemical analysis. All of these advanced techniques, all of this cutting-edge technology, all designed to verify with absolute certainty that the coin was genuine, that it was not a fake, that it was not a counterfeit, and that the errors displayed were indeed authentic manufacturing mistakes rather than post-mint damage or deliberate alteration. However, once authentication was complete, once the grading was finalized, once the certification was official and undisputed, it became absolutely, undeniably clear, completely obvious to everyone involved that this was a discovery of historic proportions, that this was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, that this coin would likely never be seen again at auction for many years to come, possibly many decades, possibly never again in our lifetime. When this coin was offered for auction at one of the world's most prestigious and most exclusive numismatic auction houses, the event became not just a simple coin sale, but a historic happening, a momentous occasion, a genuinely significant event in the world of numismatics, with collectors, dealers, investment groups, and numismatic enthusiasts from every corner of the globe, from every continent, from every country registering to bid, each one understanding completely, comprehending fully that this might be their only opportunity in a lifetime, possibly the only opportunity ever, to own such a legendary, such a historic, such a monumentally important coin. The pre-auction estimates suggested that the coin might bring somewhere in the range of $15 to $20 million. Conservative estimates based on comparable sales and rigorous market analysis. Conservative estimates that were designed to be realistic and achievable. However, the estimates could not have been more wrong, could not have missed the mark more dramatically, could not have underestimated the value more completely, because when the bidding commenced, when the auctioneer opened the bidding, when the first paddle went up, it became immediately clear, absolutely obvious, completely undeniable that the collecting world was prepared to pay truly extraordinary, truly astronomical, truly unprecedented sums for this unique and completely unprecedented coin. Bidder after bidder raised their paddle with fierce determination and passion, each one pushing the price higher and higher with every offer, each one believing that they had to own this coin, pushing the price in a territory that had rarely, almost never been explored in numismatic auctions, in a price ranges that seemed almost incomprehensible to the vast majority of people watching this auction unfold live. $20 million, $25 million, $30 million, $35 million, $40 million. The price climbed and climbed and climbed with absolutely no sign of slowing down, with absolutely no indication of hesitation or weakness from the bidders, with each bid pushing the price higher in a previously uncharted territory. The competition narrowed slowly and deliberately to just 3 serious bidders, then to just 2 determined and wealthy collectors, as the price continued its steep, dramatic vertical ascent in a price ranges that seemed almost incomprehensible, almost unbelievable, almost impossible to most observers. Finally, after an intense and dramatically gripping battle of wills, after what seemed like an eternity, after minutes of back and forth bidding that seemed to last forever, after the price climbed higher and higher and higher still, reaching levels that seemed impossible, the gavel came down with a decisive sound, and the final price was announced to the absolutely stunned audience, to the collectors around the world watching online, to everyone in the numismatic community. $53 million. A figure that immediately set a new record, not just for Roosevelt dimes, or even just for dimes of any type, not just for dimes of any rarity, not just for dimes of any vintage, but for dimes ever sold at public auction anywhere in the world, a record that seemed so extraordinarily high that many observers questioned whether it could ever possibly be broken. A record that stands as a testament to the absolute rarity and significance of this coin. The winning bidder was an extraordinarily wealthy collector, an extraordinarily passionate and dedicated numismatist who had devoted entire decades, entire portions of their life, to the pursuit of rare coins and of building one of the world's most significant, most impressive, most valuable private collections of numismatic treasures. For this collector, for this individual who understood the true value of what they were acquiring, the acquisition of the 1976 Steve Roosevelt dime represented the culmination of a lifetime, represented the achievement of a lifelong dream, represented the pinnacle of a lifetime of searching, of pursuing elusive coins across the globe, of attending auction after auction after auction, of building relationships with dealers and other collectors, of waiting patiently year after year for the perfect opportunity, the right moment to acquire the ultimate prize that would complete their collection and represent the crowning achievement of their entire numismatic journey and passion. The story of the 1976 D. Roosevelt dime is a story about the power of rarity, a story about the absolute dedication of collectors who will stop at nothing to own a piece of history, a story about the profound connection we can have to our past through the medium of coins, a story about the absolutely unbelievable value that can be contained within a single piece of metal that weighs just a few grams, that fits in the palm of your hand, that could easily be mistaken for any other ordinary dime if you weren't paying extremely close attention. This coin has become the crown jewel of rare Roosevelt dimes, the absolute standard by which all other dimes are measured, the legendary coin that inspires new collectors to pursue their own numismatic dreams and to search through their change with renewed hope, with excitement, with the belief that they might find something extraordinary. The 1976 D. Roosevelt dime represents a moment in time, a specific historical instant, when everything aligned perfectly, when minting errors converged in just the right way, when a coin escaped detection, when a discoverer recognized its profound significance, when a market was prepared to reward that rarity with an absolutely astronomical price that exceeded all previous expectations. The value of this coin goes far beyond simple economics or basic supply and demand. It represents the absolute pinnacle, the peak of what collectors believe rare coins should be, the absolute best example, the perfect specimen of how extraordinary history can be hidden in plain sight, waiting patiently to be discovered by someone with a keen eye and a passionate dedication to numismatic treasure. This coin stands as a monument to human dedication, to the obsession that collectors have with finding rare and valuable coins, to the incredible potential that exists in your pocket change, in your old collections, in your family heirlooms that have been passed down through generations. If you ever find yourself in the presence of a Roosevelt dime, any Roosevelt dime from any year, any vintage, any mint mark, I strongly encourage you to examine it carefully, to look at it closely, to study it thoroughly, because while the odds of discovering a $53 million coin are extraordinarily remote, practically impossible for most people, the simple act of looking closely at the coins you handle every single day connects you to a world of possibility and wonder, to a world of potential fortune and discovery that most people never experience, never consider, never even think about in their entire lives. That's the real value of rare coins, the real magic, the real significance. Not just the money, though the money is certainly important and life-changing, but the excitement, the history, the adventure, the connection to humanity's shared story told through the medium of metal and stamped images, the tangible link to our past, and to the incredible heritage of American currency and coin production. The Roosevelt dime, whether it's the 1987 D worth $20 million, the 1982 D worth $38 million, or the legendary 1976 D worth $53 million, represents the absolute best of what numismatics has to offer, the absolute peak of what makes coin collecting such a passionate and dedicated pursuit for collectors around the world. These coins prove that hidden wealth can exist anywhere, that fortune can be closer than you think, that sometimes the most ordinary-looking objects contain extraordinary value and significance. Thank you so much for joining me today on The Coin Hunter as we explored three of the most extraordinary, valuable, and remarkable Roosevelt dimes ever to exist in the entire world. Three coins that represent the pinnacle of numismatic achievement and rarity. Three coins that have captured the imagination and the passion of collectors across the globe. If you enjoyed this video, if you found yourself completely captivated by these stories of numismatic rarity and absolutely mind-blowing value, If you were amazed and astonished by the prices these coins have achieved, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another mind-blowing coin discovery. So you stay connected to this channel and continue to learn about rare and valuable coins. And I promise you, I'll see you in the next video where we'll explore even more incredible numismatic treasures that will absolutely blow your mind away.